Namaskar. Welcome to this session. So, we are dealing with Pranayam Sutra, but we are embarked upon a point which is directly not related to Pranayam, but however it is important. We were dealing with the Panchtattvas and made a mention that there are Panchtattva Pranayamas because we are made up of elements in our embodiment, be that physical to mental. The Panchtattvas in some form or the other are in both the matters as constituents. But we came to a point that although we know that we are Pancha Bhautika, made up of 5 elements, materially, the embodiment is also sustained by 5 elements. It is not only made up of 5 elements, but it is sustained by 5 elements. That means the embodiment will be ingesting, in simple words, eating, consuming Panchtattvas. And the food, the reference is to the food here, the food that we eat for our sustenance. We very well know that if we do not eat the food, we will not be sustained. So, the point is we have to understand how the 5 elements are intaken, eaten by all living beings and human being in particular. So, in our food there is something that we call as solid food, and that solid food is of the nature of Prithvi. So the Prithvi Tattva gets into our embodiment to nurture and nourish us, sustain us, and that is by way of eating solid food. And we know that we do eat solid food. And having eaten solid food, again we have some kind of discharge or defecation, excretion, which is again solid form. So that means we can cite that we take solid and we dispose of solid. So our disposable matter is also solid. Of course, the disposable matter is by way of your exhalation, which is gaseous disposition. Then there is disposition by way of urine and sweat, which is liquid kind of disposal. And of course, there is solid kind of disposal by way of fecal matter. So the food is eaten, food nourishes us, and then the food of the nature of Prithvi, that is solidity, is also discharged and disposed of. So that's called Prithvi Rupa Ahara and Prithvi Rupa Visarga. So that is about element of earth as to how it comes in and how it goes out. Then coming to the second element, which is water. And we know how important it is to have our body hydrated. We know how dehydration is fatal, dangerous and even fatal. So hydration is important for our embodiment, and it is sustained by hydration. Almost 70% of our embodiment is said to be liquid occupancy. Liquid is occupying our embodiment to the extent of 70%. Of course, when we intake liquid form of food which we drink. Solid food is eaten and liquid food is drunk. So That is the Jala Tattva Ahara. We take some food in the form of Jala Tattva, Up Tattva. And of course there is discharge of the nature of Up Tattva by way of urination and so also we sweat, and we have sweat glands called exocrine glands. There are endocrine glands and exocrine glands, and exocrine glands are for our sweating. So the water is also discharged. Then we also know that in our exhalation there is moisture that goes out. Moisture goes out through our exhalation, moisture goes out through our mouth. So moisture is a form of again Jala Tattva. So there is both Ahara, Jalapanadi Ahara and Visarga by way of urination and sweat and outward going of the water form in the form of vapor. So that's how element of water is sustaining us by our intakes and by our disposals. Then coming to heat, Teja Tattva, we also consume temperature. We also know that we consume what is called as calories, and some consumption of calories is important for life to be sustained. And of course, in the form of temperature, we eat something that is hot. We are supposed to eat fresh food, cooked food which is hot, and it is advisable to be eating fresh and hot cooked food. So we also eat temperature. So also we intake something which increases the heat in the body, and sometimes it is needed, particularly in winter. In winter we consume ginger or ginger powder, and that becomes important. So ginger like things have also temperature. Apart from some food having calorie form of heat, but some food such as ginger, it is also another form of heat, and we do consume ginger and ginger powder. So which is Ushnata Vardhaka. That's how the Agni Tattva is taken in. There are certain fruits which have heat in them. Some fruits are cooling. Some fruits are having heat, such as banana is cooling, and something like papaya or mango, they increase the heat in the body. So the point is that the heat is also consumed. So there is Agni sevanam in our food for our nourishment, for our existence, for our sustenance. So also the heat is passing out from our body. For instance, if you are sat at one place for a long time, then you realize that when you get up from there, that spot, that location has become hot. That means our body is emitting heat constantly. So our seed becomes hot after a while. That means our body is radiating temperature. Thereby the seed becomes hot. So that's how the heat is also going out. Then the heat also goes out in a moisture form. While we speak or while we blow air from our mouth, we know that the moisture goes out. So moisture is because of some temperature factor. So that is about element of fire. Now coming to element of air, and it should be noted here, or it will be easily understood, that it is so vital for our sustenance. You can live without food for some days, you can live without water for some time, you cannot live without air for some time. Not even a couple of seconds and minutes that you can be not breathing. So we know how much the Vayu in the form of our breathing is important. So with our breathing, the air is taken in. Particularly with reference to Pranayam, the in-breath is described as Achamanam. Bahya Vayu, external air, is taken in the form of Achamanam into the belly. This is how the Patanjalas describe the in-breath. So there we understand that the air is taken in. So that's how the Vayu Tattva is taken in, and of course Vayu Visarjana can also be understood. The Vayu goes out from different gates, like passing gases with the stomach upset, tummy upset. So we know that the Vayu passes out. Our exhalation is also passing out of Vayu. And then we pass out the Vayu through our acts such as coughing, sneezing and farting. The Vayu is seen going out from our body as well. So the Vayu also is intaken and the Vayu is also outgoing through our embodiment. So that's about Vayu. Now coming to Akasha. Now about Akasha, it should be known that Akasha or the ether is all pervasive. It is included everywhere. If you are eating solid food, the space is going in. If you are taking liquid food, the space is going in. If you are taking fiery food, the space is going in. So whether it's Prithvi, Up, Tej or Vayu, the Akasha is all pervasive, and therefore Akasha is generally intaken in all intakes. And Akasha is also let out because of its all pervasiveness by all outputs. So if we know that our body, embodiment, biological existence has outgoings in the form of Prithvi, Up, Tej, Vayu, they all include Akasha, but that is general consideration. And that won't be sufficient here, particularly in Adhyatma and Paramartha. A very interesting point is being embarked upon about Akasha Tattva intaking and outgoing. Although generally it is all pervasive, and in all intakes Akasha is intaken, in all outgoings Akasha is also let out. But that is not sufficient. The Adhyatma Shastra tells us some quite intriguing things about Akasha Tattva, its intakes and its outgoings. The Adhyatma says mantrocharam, mantrocharanam, chanting, reciting mantras, mantra shravanam, mantra sadhana. All this is Akasha Sevan in specific and specialized forms. Otherwise, Akasha is generally taken in. But if the Akasha is to be taken in a special form, it is mantrocharanam, mantra shravanam, mantra sadhana. That would be Akasha Sevanam. Then what is the Visarjanam or Visarga or outgoing aspects of Akasha Tattva? It is Jnana, Adhyatma, Paramartha related Vichara Prakriya, thought process. So by thought process in the realm of Adhyatma and Paramartha will be a specialized form of Akasha Visarjanam, or the outgoing aspects of Akasha. It is only by Adhyatmic thought process, Paramarthika thought process, and not mundane thought process. So, all the five elements, the point is all the five elements are intaken and let out. So, that was the topic that we were to discuss today and that we have done now. To understand how the five elements are coming in and five elements are going out. So now we proceed to next topic here, which is centering around the Vedic culture and its processes, wherein they have something that is called as Pranayame Viniyogaha. In all the rituals in Vedic Dharma, it is Yajna Pradhana, it is of the nature of Yajna. So there are sacrifices and ceremonial aspects in Dharma where there is Samidhadanam, there is offering in the fire, there is oblation into the fire, and that's how is Vedic Dharma characterized as, called fire worship. The Vedic fire worship is unique. There might be fire worships elsewhere as well, but this fire worship in Veda Dharma is something very centric to the ethos, culture, philosophy and practices in Veda Dharma. So in the Karma Kanda, in all Dharmiya karmas, there is an aspect called Sankalpa. And before the Sankalpa, the tradition and convention is that there must be Pranayama. And therefore, the mention comes Pranayame Viniyogaha. And then a Pranayam is done, and after Pranayam, the ritual commences. So in Vedic ritualism, Pranayame Viniyogaha has a special significance, unique significance. And one is expected to be doing pranayam and not make a mockery of taking the fingers on the nose. So, what we are doing today we are making a mockery of that pranayam. When we are told to do pranayam, we just make a mockery, take the fingers up on the nostril and utter the Saptavyavruti Gayatri mantra, and we think that is pranayam, but that's a mockery. Let's try to imagine if somebody like Yajnavalkya, Vasishtha, Vishwamitra were to do that pranayam, would they do like us? Just take the fingers on the nostrils and utter that Saptavyavruti Gayatri? No, they won't be doing that. We make a mockery. So what we do is actually offending that concept of pranayama viniyoga. So let's try to understand the vidhi vidhanam. Let's try to understand the hetu, the purpose. Now here, the pranayama has a mantra. I am not referring to samantrak pranayam, but the pranayam in Vedic ritualism, there is mantra for that pranayam. That is called Sapta Vyavruti Sahita Gayatri Mantram. So, the Sapta Vyavruti Yukta Gayatri, that mantra is correlated with breathing. Now, when the priest suggests the yajaman to do pranayam, then there is in breath, a retention, and out breath. So the in breath is done with Sapta Vyavruti, which are namely Om Bhuhu, Om Bhuvaha, Om Swaha, Om Maha, Om Janaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam. This is in breath. So during the in breath, it should be consecrated with this part of Sapta Vyavruti Gayatri mantra. Then comes Kumbhaka, and it is done with the mid part of that Gayatri mantra. Om Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. And then during that chant there is retention. And then comes last part of that mantra. It is done with exhalation. Om Apo Jyoti Rasa Amrutam Brahma Bhur Bhuva Swarom. That is for exhalation. So the Sapta Vyavruti Gayatri mantra is like this. Om Bhuhu, Om Bhuvaha, Om Swaha, Om Maha, Om Janaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam, Om Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Om Apo Jyoti Rasa Amrutam Brahma Bhurbhuva Swarom. So these three parts should be understood, which are respectively for in breath, kumbhak, and out breath. It can be also out breath, in breath, and kumbhaka. Because these nuances are not known today, but in Vedic Dharma, certain karmas are supplicative, certain karmas are kamya karmas, certain karmas are renunciate karmas, and therefore there are ways of doing this Sapta Vyavruti Pranayam. In breath, retention, out breath is the one that we saw just now. Out breath, in breath, retention is also a form. In breath, out breath, and retention is also a form. So accordingly, these Tripada Gayatri, that means the three phases, three-legged Gayatri can be used and was used in earlier times. So these three parts of Gayatri should be clearly understood. The first part of it is Om Bhuhu, Om Bhuvaha, Om Swaha, Om Maha, Om Janaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam. This is the first part. The second part is Om Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat is the second part. And the third part is Om Apo Jyoti Rasa Amrutam Brahma Bhur Bhuva Swarom. This is the third part. And that's why this Gayatri is also called as Tripada Gayatri. So this Gayatri is incorporated with the in-breath and retention and out-breath. or out breath, in breath and retention. And then offering everything to Bhagavad Tattva, called Bhagavad Samarpanam, Bhagavad Kainkaryam, and then one really gets engaged into that act. And that's what the Sankalpa tells us. Bhagavad Prityartham, Bhagavad Agnya, Bhagavad Prityartham, and with Bhagavad Samarpanam, Bhagavad Seva, Bhagavad Samarpanam, the Vedic karmas are carried out. That is one thing. The other thing which someone like Vasishtha Vishwamitra would be considering in this Pranayama Viniyoga concept, that they know that there are certain karmas which should be done under the governance of Surya Nadi, some karmas under Chandra Nadi, and some karmas under Shunya Nadi. The Shiva Svarodaya mentions about this. There are certain Surya Nadi karmas where the success of the karma is exalted because of Surya Nadi. Some karmas are Chandra Nadi karmas, and under Chandra Nadi they become more successful, exaltedly successful, and some karmas are of Shunya Nadi. So, someone like Vasishtha Vishwamitra would be checking whether it is the Surya Nadi breathing going on or Chandra Nadi breathing is going on. So that is understood by the right and left nostril. Which nostril is primarily breathing and which is primarily opened. Or sometimes both are opened, that is called Shunya Nadi. If both are equally working, then it is called Shunya Nadi. If it is right nostril breathing primarily, it is one Nadi. If it is left nostril breathing, it is another Nadi. And if it is both the nostril breathing equally, evenly, that's third Nadi. And therefore there are three Nadis, Ida, Pingala, Sushumna. The point is, certain karmas are in the domain of Surya Nadi, and certain karmas are in the domain of Chandra Nadi, and certain karmas are in the domain of Shunya Nadi. So someone like Vasishtha Vishwamitra would be checking which nostril breathing is going on, and is it desirable to have that breathing, or do we need to modify it? So suppose Ida Nadi breathing is going on and your karma is suitable for Pingala Nadi, you have to manipulate and get Pingala Nadi breathing in place. And then vice versa. If the breathing is Pingala Nadi kind of process naturally, and if you want Ida Nadi breathing for your karma, then the Pingala Nadi should be transformed into Ida Nadi, and that is possible in Pranayam. Or if it is Shunya Nadi going on and you don't want Shunya Nadi but Surya Nadi, from Surya Nadi transformation, or from Shunya Chandra Nadi transformation is important. So shifting of nadis in breathing is important. So those sages of the lore would check the breathing and get desirable kind of breathing. And they very well knew that which breathing is suitable for their act. Is it Surya Nadi suitable, or is the Chandra Nadi suitable, or is the Shunya Nadi suitable? And then, having a pathological reading of the breathing, they would make any necessary modifications, and that's why they did Pranayam, so that the success of the karma would be more assured. And Shiva Svarodaya tells us about these Nadi and Nakshatra, Nadi and Tithi, Nadi and the day. So Tithi, Var, Nakshatra, Samaya, Yoga, which is the matter of Panchangam, the Kalmanak, the almanac of Vedic culture. So Shiva Svarodaya says that you should know which is the presiding force on the particular day and particular time when you are sitting for that ritual. So that is called Tithi, Var, Nakshatra, Samaya and Yoga. So it implies that suitable nadi should be used. Then the sankalpa would be successful. And therefore they would go for pathology of breathing on the lines of nadis and make necessary manipulations through pranayam and then make it suitable for the karma, suitable for the act, and they would be assured of successful karma and also powerful karma. The sankalpa shakti would be supported by those forces, pranic forces. So that's how the pranayama viniyoga concept came. We just make a mockery, but someone like Vasishtha, Vishwamitra, Vamadeva did not make mockery. We have to imagine as to why they were doing pranayam before their karmas, and why do we make a mockery before the karmas. So that was another point that was worth mentioning, which is relevant if you think to what we are discussing, and it is not relevant if you think that way. So it depends upon your grasp of the subject. Then it becomes relevant if you are sufficiently grasped. If you are not grasped, then perhaps it is not so relevant or perhaps even irrelevant. But a mention was worth making, and therefore I made a mention about it. Now we all know that this is pranayam and not shvasayam, although generality confuses between shvasayam and pranayam, particularly with the time that we are in the time that we are in, when yoga is so popular, then of course open field for all mockeries, and therefore we equate Shvasayam with Pranayam. Shvasayam itself is Pranayam and Pranayam is only Shvasayam. But that is not true. I have given sufficient education in this regard. Then we also discuss about Pranamaya Kosha, which is so important aspect to be considered. That we had done on an earlier occasion. One should go back to Panchakosha delineation and Pranamaya Kosha described there. But now we are trying to look at the principle of prana, which has been praised in our scriptures. And why it has been called universal cosmic energy, that is Vishwa Chaitanya Shakti. Now this prana has been extolled in our Shastras, in our Vedas, in our Upanishads and in our Shastras. So we are trying to take a reading of that aspect, the Pranayama, the Pranayama Mahima, the greatness of Pranayama. But that we will take up in our next session. Enough for the time being. Namaskar all of you.